Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
My hair is scattered already. Yeah. So, ASUU first.
You first. First Bank. You first,
Odds.
first.
Odds.
Mr. C. Let's go on, please.
Sorry. Lakunle. C has odds. Lakunle has even.
Okay, thank you. Smooth 98.1, love music, love life. Welcome if you just joined us. This is Freshly Pressed 981. And this morning we're going to be taking a look into detailed analysis, of course, of the stories making rounds in the dailies this morning. And to lead us in conversations is Mr. C. Good morning, Mr. C.
Good morning, Kayode. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Lakunle.
And also Lakunle is joining us this morning as well. Good morning, Lakunle.
Good morning, Kay. Good morning, Mr. C. Good morning, Lagos. Merry Christmas in advance, everyone.
Nice one. 5 days to Christmas already. I'm excited. Are you guys excited about it? They're not excited. You can find them on social media. Mr. C is at Mr. C with triple C, and also at Lakunle on social media. That said, you can be a part of our conversation by joining us in the studio. We're streaming live on YouTube. It's youtube.com/smooth981. And also your WhatsApp messages come to 0809-444-0981. Let's start off with the first story this morning. Mr. C, this one comes to you. It talks about the electoral bill. It says Governor's National Assembly in last supremacy battle. And to give you a quick snippet into what the story says, the waiting game over the yet to assent amended electoral bill continued yesterday, and with the expiration of a 30-day deadline. So there's still a back and forth. We don't know if the president's gonna, assent to this bill or not. What are your thoughts concerning this?
Okay. Thank you, Kayode. So, as we're all aware, the National Assembly had passed the amended electoral bill and submitted it to the office of the president for his assent, or in simpler words, for him to sign it.
Okay.
And the deadline for the president to sign the bill expired yesterday on Sunday. The 30 days are up. Now, so the question now is, what happens now that he hasn't signed it? By the provisions of Section 58, subsection 5 of the 99 Constitution, if each House of the National Assembly by a two-thirds majority votes to have that bill made a law, they will override the president's seeming veto, and the bill becomes an act of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So a bigger question arises: why was the president unable to sign the bill submitted to him within 30 days? Surely he could have found 5 or 10 minutes within the 30 days to sign the bill. Now, let's not forget the president has been embarking on several foreign trips, and then there's also been pressure. There's also been pressure on him by the governors not to sign the bill. Now, the contention is this: it's really simple. The bill proposes that the delegate system of selecting candidates for elections be replaced with a direct voting system whereby each member of the party gets a say in who emerges the candidate of each party for any position.
Okay.
Previously, what obtained was a delegate system whereby former members of the National Assembly or the State House of Assembly, certain political stakeholders, certain political office holders were delegates, and it was very easy for a sitting governor to hijack the delegates, flood them with cash, and get his way. Now, the National Assembly guys have taken this step, not because they have the best interests of Nigeria at heart, but to protect their interests in returning to the National Assembly, especially for those of them that have fallen out with their governors. Now, it has been a growing trend in Nigeria since 1999 for governors, upon completing 2 terms, to want to
Be a part of the National Assembly.
head to the Senate. So you have sitting senators who are now contending with governors who want to come in. Now, in Bielsa, there was a smooth transition because the previous governor swapped with the senator for his senatorial zone. That worked. They were lucky. But in most states, that wouldn't happen. So the bigger question is, can the delegate system work? Given our COVID realities, given the challenges, and with the logistics required, because it's literally like holding an election. But it's just that it will be the party conducting it. Now, the National Assembly goes on Christmas recess tomorrow and resumes second week of January 2022. In an ideal situation, they would pass the bill today. They would sit today and do the work. But the National Assembly sits from Tuesdays to Thursdays because on Mondays, the legislators are expected to return back from their constituencies. That is, assuming they even left.
Okay.
Then on Friday, they're expected to go back to their constituencies. Now, if they're going on recess tomorrow, it is pretty certain nothing is happening today. Absolutely nothing.
So what then happens to this bill when they do get back?
Now, when they do get back, they should pass the bill. They should. And I stress should. However, by the time we get into 2022, we need to be realistic. All pretenses to governance stop. Full electioneering starts. Everybody's scheming and plotting, strategizing for 2023.
So you're saying that in essence, in 2022, if this is not attended to by today, in 2022, I mean, the president can still hold out as long as he wants, or
no. This has gone beyond the president. Now, remember that a 2/3 majority is required in each.
Yes.
Can they rise above their partisan differences to get the 2/3 majority? Nigerians would love to see that happen. Do they have the political will or the interest to do it? We're not sure yet, but they have their personal selfish interest. Yes, so if we were to count on that, yes, we would hope they would pass the bill. Now, let's not forget the 2022 appropriation bill has not been passed. And if that bill is not, until it is passed, the government should not spend money. Now, the appropriation bill is, in effect, the budget bill. So it hasn't been passed because the National Assembly is waiting for the president to sign this electoral bill. So it's all sorts of scheming, all sorts of plots, but I want to believe because it now affects their self-interest, they will pass the bill when they resume in January.
Thank you very much, Mr. C. If you're out there and you want to comment on some of the stories we're sharing this morning, feel free to send your messages to 0809-444-0981. Let's move on to the next story, shall we? This one comes to you, Lakunle. It says here that ASUU postpones decision on strike, accuses the federal government of blackmail. It comes from the Punch newspaper. It's they're talking tough. But what are your thoughts about this?
The government and ASUU face-off is one of the biggest elephants in the room called Nigeria. The first time this happened, I think, was in 1992 or thereabout, for this same issue of underfunding, autonomy, and whatnots. And there's been various back and forth on these same issues. And then you know what the motivational speakers always say, that if you keep doing the same thing the same way over and over, you should not expect a different result. And that is what we see in all of this. ASUU will threaten a strike, government would negotiate, they will not go on strike, government will renege on the negotiation, they will go on strike 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, the government will give them a little bit of money, they will come back and forth. And that's what we've seen in the last 35 years or thereabout of this same problem. Now, before we came on air, I was jokingly saying out there that everybody, both parties, have a fault in this. How do you wake up one morning, something that people were used to getting for free? How do you wake up one morning and then say, this is from government side,
and it should
that
be paid for?
You now start paying for it? How do you convince people to pay for it, because government itself has admitted over and over through various regimes and administrations that there is not enough money to go around to go around everything we need as a country. Okay, so you say ASUU on its part has its own faults. I mean, so when you say you need 1 billion, for example, and they give you 200 million, let people see what you have done with the 200 million so that the argument for the balance 800 million can be reasonable and sustainable.
So are you saying that ASUU should not often go on strike?
So
When
that's what I'm
they
saying. That
receive the monies from the government.
yes, that's what I'm saying. That the going on strike obviously has not solved the problem. Okay, government not giving them the money as they need has also not solved the problem. So what then do we need to do different? I mean, every time they go on strike, it is our children that suffer it most. Now, I know for a certain that within the last 3 to 5 years, we have lost 2 academic sessions. I know this for a fact because I have a friend whose child got an admission letter to university for September 2019, and the child is just in 100 level in 2021. So those are the kind of things that you begin to see in this matter. Now, ASUU calling off the strike, I think that they are professors, they're supposed to be great thinkers, they're supposed to be strategists in everything that they do. I think that they should look at other options at getting government to agree.
They're talking about allowances, though. They're talking
Yes,
about allowances. They're talking about accumulated promotion arrears. Those are some of the things they're talking about. Not just things about structures. Now, they're
whether
talking about
we
their
like
own
it,
personal allowances.
whether we like it or not, government will continue to owe them that money because there is no money. We all know this. Even ASUU themselves, they know it. The only argument they have, I guess, is that, okay, you say there is no money. How come you have money to pay yourselves in government? Which is a very valid argument. But if you keep going on strike, you need 100 million, you go on strike, they give you 10, you come back, then you go on a longer strike. Has that solved the problem? No, it has not. I was jokingly saying outside, maybe we need to shut down everything for maybe a 2-3 year period. And maybe in that time, everybody's eyes will be clear and then we can solve the problem. But is that a real solution in itself? It is too outlandish to go a way to go. But something must give. Should we tell governments, look, hands off university education 100%, give out all these universities, sell them or whatever, so that people who can afford the real price, the real value of university education should go. Today, people are going to university in Nigeria, they are paying millions to send their children to private universities in this country. Yes, that is an extreme. But there must be something else to be done aside from going on strike back and forth, and the problem still remains.
All right, thank you very much for that, Lakunle. If you're out there and you want to be a part of our talk, send your messages to 0809-444-0981. I see some messages coming in already, but real quick, let's move on to the next story. This one comes to you, Mr. C. It says, federal government generates 300 million naira from Abuja-Kaduna train service monthly. This is according to Mr. Amaechi, and this comes from the Punch newspaper.
Okay, thank you, Kayode. So the Minister for Transport, Mr. Rotimi Amaechi, was speaking on a television program, and he stated that the sum of 300 million naira was made monthly from the Abuja-Kaduna train services. He then goes on to make a very interesting statement that from the 300 million naira being gotten monthly, part of that money is used to run the Lagos-Ibadan train service. And that at the end of the day, I don't know how long that period is, that 100 million is paid back to the federal government. So a couple of questions. The Lagos-Ibadan train service has been running for at least 5-6 months, at least.
Yes.
How is it? So how much is being made from that service? Since we know how much is being made from the Abuja-Kaduna train service, why are there no figures for the Lagos-Ibadan service? That's one. Two, what is the cost of providing that service? Because from his statements, it would appear as if the Lagos-Ibadan train service is running at a loss. Meanwhile, I understand that it is fully booked most days. So the question is, there aren't a lot of details in this story. Analysts who reported it, I'm surprised that we don't have more details.
Left out the details of what happened to the 200 million, because if they're using 100 million to pay back the loans, then what happens?
No, we don't even know how much is being taken to support the Lagos Ibadan train service. Now, there are just so many details that are not here, and it's sad. And the minister won't provide those details. What is the cost of the Abuja-Kaduna train service? Nobody knows.
Do you know how long for loan is though? Because according to the debt management office, they're saying that the loan presently stands at uh, Kaduna rail service, and then they're still financing the one from Lagos to Ibadan. Then it means that it might take a very long time before this is clarified.
Thank you, Kayode. But let's remember that these loans is the accumulation of all the loans China has given us. And we're stating that the official figure is 3.59 billion. Now, even at 300 million, when converted into US dollars at today's rate, is a negligible sum. And we're talking billions of dollars. We will never finish paying at this rate. Two, what are the plans for expanding the services? The number of trips on the Abuja-Kaduna railway line, Lagos-Ibadan. Are there plans to do a Lagos to Abuja railway? Are there plans to open other rail routes all over the nation?
And they plan to increase the trains, because like you just mentioned, I've been on the Lagos to Ibadan one, and I think it's just one service that runs. You have to wait for the train to come back and then go again. So it takes a long time for that to happen. But there's so many questions to be answered in this one. 0809-444-0981. That's the number to call to be a part of our conversation. Real quick, though, let's move on to our next story. This one here comes to you, Lakunle. It talks about COVID-19. Okay, so federal government issues travel advice. Lagos vows to clamp down as infections soars. This is from the Punch newspaper.
While on one hand, one wants to say that the government at various levels have done some good work with respect to coping with the pandemic in Nigeria. On the other hand, you want to also ask for details of some of the statements that heads of governments at these various levels are making about these things. Okay, so Lagos State, sometime 2 weeks ago, extended the protocols to include if you're going for any public event or social gathering, you need to present your evidence of vaccination or a PCR test taken not less than 72 hours before the day of the event, and so on and so forth. Then, so the question to ask about that is, who does the monitoring of this new protocol, for example? Now, according to this report, let me quickly go somewhere in the report. Kano State says it plans to vaccinate 15 million people. And then the first question to ask is, where are you getting 15 million doses from? If you have it, where are you storing them? If you have them stored, what is the plan to administer the 15 million before it expires? Ogun State goes to say that in the same report, the Commissioner for Health for Ogun State was quoted to have gone on air to beg residents of Ogun State to wear face masks. And I think that, like we said pretty much earlier on about this pandemic, that much more of what we need is advocacy. There are a lot of the non-medical protocols are things that we can encourage people to get into, given that we know that we may never have enough vaccines to go around and all that. But when you make this kind of statements, it needs to be convincing that it can be done. Having said that, we also need to appeal to people that this thing is real, it's out there. Go to the places where it has been advertised for you to get vaccinated. Trust science, the way you trust science with your health when it comes to malaria. Trust science, the way you trust science when it comes to driving a car, and so on and so forth. there have been many other vaccines that have been made before now that we have taken. And then the question people ask that amazes me is, so you have been vaccinated, but you still get infected. Vaccine is not an armor. It's just in your body to help you to overcome, to fight the virus when it enters you.
But then,
If you don't, the people who take the vaccine have between 67 and 97% chance of surviving. You that you have not taken, you have less than that.
so in one word, and I see what you're saying, Lakunle, but in one word though, how do you think that the government, that's the Lagos State government now, can create more awareness for people to get these vaccines? And you also mentioned the governors from other states, providing uh, large samples, doses of vaccines for their people, saying that they're going to provide them. So, in one word, how do you recommend that we go about this? Because I know for a fact that the Lagos State government, has done some type of campaign. It's television ads, radio ads, talked about how people can protect themselves. But in one word, how would you recommend that things they go by things?
It's still the same thing. The advocacy must continue. We can't stop. We must continue to upscale it, because right now I think that we are getting people's attention. You realize that the more, like for example, I think on Thursday or Wednesday last week, Lagos State reported about over 700 reported cases of infections. So at the beginning, every day we're getting those updates of number of infections and so on and so forth. We have relaxed about that. I think we should go back to that we need to upscale the advocacy and
create
talk
more
about
publicity and
exactly
awareness for this.
and talk more about the non-medical protocols. Those, like they say, prevention is better than cure. If we follow those things, we should take care of our health. It's very important. Don't let us be a statistics for something that is preventable.
Thanks so much, Lakunle. Real quick, let's move on to our next story. We're totally almost out of time, really, though. This one here is from the Punch newspaper, and it comes to you, Mr. C. It talks about the reps summoning Aregbesola, the NIS boss, over foreign missions, visas, passport contracts. What are your thoughts about this?
Okay. Thank you, Kayode. So very quickly, the House of Representatives Committee on Public Accounts has invited the Minister for the Interior, the Comptroller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service, and the Permanent Secretary to appear before it to explain why consultants have been engaged to handle consular and visa matters for Nigerian missions outside the country. Now, the position of the committee is that they are officers of the Nigerian Immigration Service that are posted to each Nigerian mission outside the country, who are tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that consular and visa services are adequately provided. Now, they've subcontracted this work consultants, and for example, in South Africa, each applicant pays $213, and the consultant gets $90 out of that. And the committee said that at the end of the day, when everything's said and done, only $15 gets into the purse of the federal government.
So the consultant makes more money than the federal government.
So if the consultant gets 90, the federal government gets 15. Where does the other 100, almost $100, where does it go to? But more importantly, why are we using consultants in the first place? We have officers who are posted, they're collecting salaries, they're collecting allowances, and we're still paying consultants. So we're paying twice. Only one person's doing the work, and the others are just literally faffing around. And it's just a sign of the culture of impunity that's ravaged the land. We understand that this particular consultant in South Africa manages 14 other countries for Nigeria. So they've asked these gentlemen to bring a list of all the consultants working for them and explain why those agreements should not be terminated. And in a situation, in times like this where we do not have money, we cannot be throwing out money to a consultant who is doing little or next to nothing. It has to stop.
Thank you very much, Mr. C. Real quick, let's jump to the stories here. This one from Idam Puza from Surulere says, I wonder when the harvest of killings and abductions will stop in Nigeria, particularly in Kaduna and Zamfara states. What is the value of human lives? What are the values of lives of human beings in Nigeria? Why is President Buhari withholding the electoral bill assent? Is there any hidden agenda? Will the National Assembly save Nigerian electorates by 2/3 majority? And this one here says, I thought the National Assembly has the power to override the bill after a certain period of time if the president refuses to sign the bill into law. This is from OM. Damilola Olawi from Ikodu says, I'd be curious to hear all the other options ASUU, all the other options for ASUU and other labor unions have apart from strike and civil action. The summary of this matter is that our government isn't interested in solving our problems. It can't also be reasonably expected to keep its promises. And Dilly comes in to say, good morning all. Our strikes by ASUU, our education sector, is geared mostly to producing for knowledge and hardly for any productivity and unable to add much value to our economy. The education sector must lay foundations to be able to be funded by the economy. Knowledge can pay for education. Productivity can as well. All right, thank you so much for that. Fidelis comes in as well. And he says, he's greeting everybody, pleasantries, basically. Real quick, let's move into our next story. This one here talks about the Yuletide, okay? And it comes to you, Lakunle. So Yuletide demand spikes airfares by 200% amid haze, disruptions, and also delays. Got a minute to wrap this up, though.
20 seconds. Law of demand and supply. Everybody, our roads are not, in quotes, safe enough for us to travel. So the easiest way for people to travel is by air. So you have 100 people asking for 40 spaces available, and the pricing of airfare is regulated by the agencies, the regulatory agencies. So highest bidder, you get it for highest bidder. That's just what is happening there. And unfortunately, it's around this period that people want to travel to meet their loved ones and so on and so forth. So that's just it.
So if there's more security, or there's better security, I mean, we wouldn't have a situation of a 200% increase in airfare prices.
Absolutely.
Real quick though, Mr. C, let's come to you. This one from the Premium Times says death toll rises to 38 in Kaduna attack, and the names are listed here. But what are your thoughts about this?
Okay, thank you, Kayode. Very quickly, first of all, our thoughts go out to the families of those who've lost their loved ones in these attacks. And this is just another recurring example of how unsafe and how insecure Nigeria, particularly the north, is at the moment. Now, these people were attacked in several locations, and a few days before this, about 9 or 10 people were killed in the northern part of Kaduna. Expectedly, the Kaduna State governor has commiserated with the relatives of the victims, and then he's directed the Emergency Management Agency to try and look after them and give them relief. But beyond all of this, there is the constant and systemic attack or series of attacks perpetrated by non-state actors who are inclined towards violence and criminality. And the efforts of the state actors in curbing or bringing to bare minimum these attacks needs to be increased.
Thanks so much, Mr. C. Final story. We're totally out of time. A final story from Premium Times. Nigeria to commence health insurance for senior citizens and retirees. When I saw the story, it put a smile on my face. But Lakunle, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is possible? How far do you think the government will take this and the possibilities?
If we're able to pull this through, beautiful. It then means that what you classify as senior citizens, probably from age 65 or 70, according to whatever the law says, means that they get free health care whenever they need to get one. But the question then is
it sustainable?
No, it's not even a sustainability thing for now. The question now is, where is the money going to come from to start?
All right.
We've just spoken about
how the government is seeking funding from different sources and we don't have money at all.
Except that they say, okay, I have this money somewhere there that I can take and start off. Sustainability there will now be the next question. To start, where is the money going to come from? But it's a beautiful thing that at least some idea has come off so that people in that category can look forward to, okay, when I get to this age, I can get free health care.
All right. Thank you so much, Lakunle. Appreciate the analysis. Also, thank you so much, Mr. C. You can find our analyst on social media at Monsieur C with a triple C on social media. Also at Lakunle, yes, on social media. Stay with us. This is Smooth 98.1. In a few more minutes, it's going to be time for Lagos Talks 981. Thank you you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
So Lakunle is Lakunle 70 on social media.
Oh wow, that was what I was looking to you to tell me.
I didn't want to break the.
No, you could have. It's fine.
Oh.
You could have.
I don't know.